First, a word from our sponsors. If you are in the XRP community and you're not paying attention to RLUSD, you need to be. Ripple just launched their regulated US dollar stablecoin. This is a one-to-one backed, and it runs natively on the XRP ledger. OKX is the best place that you can trade this. More importantly, OKX has the RLUSD and XRP trading pair. That is the one that this community has been waiting for, and it is here. If you're brand new to OKX, they've got a new member offer for you, up to $300. Link down below. Terms do apply. Take a look. Welcome back into another episode here from the XRP Las Vegas event. And today's going to be a good one because I've got Hugo coming in from Flare. And of course, we've been on with you many times. Hugo, a lot is happening here at this. I mean, as we're recording this, we're looking across a sea of people right now, all of which hold XRP.
Yep.
Flare, of course, is one of the cornerstones of the XRP ecosystem now. So talk to me a little bit about what you guys have been doing this year that has separated you from the pack.
Absolutely. So, I guess for those that don't know, Flare is a layer 1 blockchain that built around data. So we could do more with non-smart contract tokens like XRP, which is really our primary goal is to develop a very large DeFi market for XRP. That's our primary function, and then we'll be branching out to other non-smart contract tokens when we feel that we've established that market sufficiently that it's self-sustaining. So in the last year, we started in September, let's say September 2025. We launched FXRP. We've been alive for a couple of years before that, but we've been testing systems, we've been building. It takes a while, especially when you look at the rest of the ecosystem. We're always very happy that it takes us a long time to build things because we take security absolutely first and foremost.
Absolutely.
Not only are the designs of our technologies radically different to how pretty much anyone else does it, which means we think that those designs are more sophisticated and more safe, but we test a lot. We test a huge amount. So we started in September 2025 with FXRP. That was the first time FXRP could be created. We've established a sizable DeFi ecosystem. We have 155 million units of XRP on Flare, a full DeFi ecosystem of about $450 million. We partnered with Centaura to build Firelight, seed funded that. Firelight is the first major, viable insurance protocol for DeFi in the space, and it uses XRP as the collateral asset. We've brought on Morpho, which is a very institutional focus.
How is that connected now with Morpho? That's something new.
So we brought Morpho onto Flare through Mystic. And they are really an institutionally focused lending protocol.
Right.
Very different risk structure, very much lower risk structure to different types of lending protocol, the more OG lending protocols. Isolated, sort of more secure and vault capable. So, you can people can create vaults that interact with Morpho, and this is a great abstraction for users. So we brought Morpho on, we've been developing that market. We have got FXRP on multiple chains, ETH mainnet, Monad, Base. We are making FXRP the standard across the entire DeFi ecosystem. We created Flare Smart Accounts, which allows you to control your FXRP directly from the XRP ledger by broadcasting a transaction on the XRP ledger. And the next version of FXRP, v1.3, will allow you to mint FXRP directly from an exchange. And we don't need exchanges to partner with us on that. That functionality comes from the withdrawal functionality on an exchange. So you'll be able to withdraw to Flare rather than to the XRP ledger.
Interesting. Okay, so that's fairly new then?
That's coming in a couple of weeks.
All right, so advancements are rolling out with Flare. You look at the ecosystem itself, as you can see, this even though we're in a down year, one of the biggest events that they've held, I think they broke their record. This is something that I think every XRP holder here is looking at. How do I put these assets to work? This store, of course, opens up a whole layer of opportunities. What about scale for Flare?
So there's a huge buzz around XRP. There's been a huge buzz since the court case was settled. But now I think the predominant question that everyone's coming up to me and asking is, I've got my XRP, I want it safe, I want it secure, but I want yield on it. And that's what Flare offers, really, and we are I think, well, first of all, we're the largest DeFi ecosystem for XRP today, but I also think we're the best, to be honest with you. What does scale look like? Well, we're scaling slowly because markets take a long time to establish. You've got to bring on stables. You've got to bring on institutional partners who are prepared to lend those stables against your XRP. You've got to make sure that everything's safe. You've got to scale responsibly.
Yep.
We've seen people scale irresponsibly, and it creates huge holes.
Every time.
It creates holes in the ecosystem. Capital shortfalls, which the DeFi ecosystem on Ethereum have had to club together and create a bailout.
Yep.
And that's because they don't scale responsibly. We are trying to scale as responsibly as possible with your asset, with your money, and build that out. We've extended Flare to other ecosystems in order to be able to get additional stablecoin liquidity that can be lent against FXRP. And principally, the best way to access that is through the Upshift ClearStar Vault.
Okay.
Enabled on Flare. We'll be launching other types of Vault as well in the future. Don't want to say too much about that at the moment, but it's very exciting.
Well, okay, so that has been one of the things that I think when you look at scalability of projects, to your point, sometimes they grow too fast. Bad things happen, which we saw with the Kelp DAO, good example. But you look at where you guys are right now, the onboarding of a new XRP F asset holder, what is that going to look like in the future? Is there, for the barrier to entry, is it going to be easier and easier?
So, I mean, just go back to that scaling point. I think Firelight is one of the protocols that I think could scale almost infinitely. It could probably take up all of the XRP in existence, right? Because I think, the DeFi industry is very large, and Firelight is offering broad spectrum insurance. In fact, the more insurance they can offer, the better the yield is and the safer the portfolio of assets in Firelight is. So I think Firelight's a very interesting one. Of course, we funded that. And I think in terms of the onboarding experience, we've integrated with pretty much every wallet we possibly can. We've created our own wallet called Luminite with partners to make that experience again even easier. You don't even need a private key. You just have a password.
Right.
We are allowing you to mint XRP directly from exchange. Now, no competing XRP product can do that because they all have a degree of centralization that Flare doesn't have, and they have to know the minter. They have to KYC the minter. So something like Wrapped XRP offered by Hex might be an interesting thing. They cannot onboard you directly from an exchange because they don't know who you are. FXRP can.
All right.
So in terms of scaling, in terms of user making it easier for the user, all we do is try to break down those barriers. That's why we've created Flare Smart Accounts.
Okay, so I know Flare, you're Flare 2.0 later this year.
Yeah.
The innovations that you'll see in not only DeFi, but what we'll see in terms of yield-bearing instruments like what you guys have done with the F assets. What does that look like in 12 months, a year from now?
Well, we're creating Flare 2.0, which is effectively what we're calling Flare Confidential Compute. And this is a scalability layer on top of Flare, not only for scalability, i.e. many more computations much more cheaply, but also for privacy. And for being able to keep secrets, like private keys.
Will that open up institutional more?
So that'll open up a number of things. First of all, you'll be able to create a protocol on Flare that can control, using decentralized inputs, assets on other chains. So unlike having to go to a multi-sig, you can control Bitcoin, you can control XRP, you can control Ethereum on other chains from a single protocol on Flare. So that may be institutional, but it may also just be a total game changer for what people can build.
Okay.
But when it comes to privacy, that's where privacy that is offered by Flare Confidential Compute, that's where I think that becomes very institutional. Because real world assets and large financial entities, they don't want everyone to know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so, I think there's a really nice story as RWAs are issued on the XRP ledger, where the XRP ledger cannot serve all of the needs of its institutional clients. Protocols can be built in Flare's confidential compute that allows those RWAs to be utilized, to be traded, to be lent against, to be used as collateral. Again, protocols that the XRP ledger can't currently enable, can be enabled through confidential compute on Flare.
So with the privacy side,
This, of course, is the challenge I think that all institutional capital is concerned about, especially at this scale that we're talking about, moving into light speed really with these new instruments. Canton has been out there kind of touting that.
Absolutely.
Okay. And they have locked it in for institutional to institutional. Is Flare opening that up?
So I think Flare is interested in institutional to institutional and institutional to retail.
Okay.
So, and also, again, like everything, banks and institutions are not going to let one chain win it all, because that then replaces them.
Yes.
Right? So, I think, XRP Ledger is doing really well in RWA issuance. It went above Solana. Yeah. I think it's like number 2 or 3 in terms of total RWAs. And so I don't think this is going to be, again, a winner. Everyone always wants to find a winner-take-all position. I think XRP Ledger is going to be very successful with RWA issuance. Why? Because XRP Ledger has better distribution in the US, in Korea, in Japan than any other chain. And so if you're an asset issuer, if you are an institution and you want distribution, XRP Ledger is a great place to do that.
I like it.
And what Flare can then offer is further functionality on top of that.
This is going to be an exciting time, I think, for digital assets in general, especially as we start to see these kinds of instruments go live. So going to be a good one. We will, of course, be covering this and much more. We'll get Hugo back on the pod soon. So, Hugo, thanks for coming in today. We appreciate it.
And, of course, we have a session tomorrow.
Yes, we do.
I look forward to.
The Fireside Chat. Yeah, it's going to be amazing. All right, you guys know what to do. We will catch you guys later.
If you like this video, hit like and subscribe, drop a comment down below, and also join our free private member group. The link is in the description.